Hello and welcome to Davos Insight. I'm Tian Wei. Our special program is coming from the Swiss mountain town. This not only marks the important time of the global uncertainty, it's also the 50th anniversary of the global platform, which emphasized from the very beginning the importance of stakeholders. This year, the idea is revitalized, suggesting business not only responsible for shareholders, but also consumers and communities. The forum began with speeches given by leaders from China and the United States. Let's first of all listen to this. U.S. President Donald Trump.
Just last week alone, the United States concluded 2 extraordinary trade deals. The agreement with China and the United States, Mexico-Canada agreement, the 2 biggest trade deals ever made. They just happened to get done in the same week. These agreements represent a new model of trade for the 21st century, agreements that are fair, reciprocal, and that prioritize the needs of workers and families. America's economic turnaround has been nothing short of spectacular when I took office 3 years ago.
Now, let's listen to this. Han Zheng, Chinese Vice Premier at the World Economic Forum.
解决经济全球化面临的困难和问题。
To resolve the difficulties and problems in economic globalization, the key lies in upholding multilateralism. We should keep to the goal of safeguarding peace, promoting development, upholding equity and justice, and pursuing mutual benefit and win-win outcomes, and work together to tackle global challenges such as poverty reduction, climate change, and environmental protection.
The forum this year begins right after the first phase of trade deals signed between China and the United States. In an in-depth interview with Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, he told me about whether that truth is sustainable. Here is the interview. Professor Schwab, what a pleasure to see you on the 50th edition of the World Economic Forum.
And it's a great pleasure to see you back just before Chinese New Year.
Exactly. This is a wonderful time to reflect on and to look forward. One of the things of the backdrop for this year's World Economic Forum has a lot to do with the Phase 1 deal signed between China and the United States. How do you see events like this will be making it possible for the international community to come to consensus?
It's a very important step forward, and I'm very happy that this deal was signed just before the annual meeting opens, because it provides new confidence into the future of the economy. But we still have an important step to go. And I hope that the strong presence of business leaders here, of political leaders, will help to move forward, not only related to the trade deal, but also related to many other issues which we have to face in the world of today.
Professor, in the World Economic Forum Global Risks Report, it indicated major power rivalry now has become one of the biggest dangers the world is facing right now. Now, how much is that reflected in the China-US issue, and how do you think this big rivalry or big power rivalry issue can be discussed and communicated?
I think it has to be discussed, and it has to be discussed not only on an official high level. I think if we have dialogues in an informal way, even among the young people who are here, or particularly the business people who are here, if technology companies from the US meet directly technology companies from China, I think those contacts lead to a better mutual understanding. And the mutual understanding is the base for making progress to create a framework how we solve the pertinent issues.
Professor Schwab, the World Economic Forum from the very beginning has been well known to being a conciliatory and reconcile stage for many global issues. But some say this time China and the US is going to be different. this is going to be, quote unquote, the new Cold War. Do you agree with those comments?
No, I don't like this statement, because we know that sometimes prophecies have a tendency to self-fulfill. I think we have to make every effort to avoid the situation you just described, because the ultimate result would be two circles with their own rules, and this would certainly not be in the interest of humankind, because it would, as you said, it would be a Cold War, but much more a technology war.
So you have the U.S. president coming to this year's World Economic Forum. Meanwhile, the Chinese vice premier is also going to be here to deliver his speech. What are your expectations for them and the other leaders?
I'm expecting that everybody embraces the Davos spirit, which means to emphasize much more what is common and not what puts us apart. And even if there are issues which, let's say, are difficult to resolve, we want to hear, if possible, solutions of how we can go forward.
Professor, you are putting forward the fourth industrial revolution idea over the past few years. And we have seen technologies have been changing so rapidly since then. But now, here's the thing. What about technological decoupling? How much do you think your idea of the fourth industrial revolution with the danger of technology decoupling is right in front of us? How does that work?
You address a number of issues. The first one, I believe that technology can help us to resolve many of the global issues, can really advance the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly CO2 emissions and so on can be substantially reduced if we take full advantage of new technologies. I think this is even the main reason, if there are other ones, to make sure that we work together, because the environmental challenge is a global challenge. You cannot create a separation line. We all are interdependent. So even if we want to address the ecological challenge, we have to work together to use the technologies at its best.
To use technologies at best, it means smooth circulation of talents, of knowledge, of information, of exchanges?
Yes, as the world has seen in the last 40 years with globalization, that it's a very beneficial force for the global economy. And if I compare with 40 years ago, I think we have made enormous progress, not only in increasing GDP, but creating a better quality of life. Our life expectations have been extended. I would say we have to continue on this path, but we also have to know that today the argument that you have more winners than losers is not anymore really convincing, because with the social media, with the attention giving to those who are left behind, you have to make sure that you have inclusive global goals.
Talking about inclusiveness, Professor, this year you have been pointing out stakeholder capitalism, which you pointed out, shall I say, back in 1973. I think you wrote an article about this also. But things have changed. So stakeholder capitalism, will it really work while companies are still looking for profits as their ultimate goal, even though they also want to, on the sideline, take care of the consumers and communities?
There is no alternative to stakeholder responsibility. We are living in a new world. The world has changed. when I conceptualized stakeholder responsibility in a book in 1970-71, I had to fight now the last 50 years to really get the idea adapted, because there was Milton Friedman, the famous economist, who said the moral obligation of business is to make profits. But today we are living in a different world, because people have different expectations, and people will not work anymore for companies who really destroy our environment. They will not work for companies who are not socially responsible. So to embrace stakeholder capitalism is in the interest of companies to ensure the long-term prosperity and profitability of the company.
But the benchmark of CEOs, short-term only, and it's the profits that are using as their payment benchmark as well. So are we talking about a wonderful goal, but the reality is pretty skinny?
No, first at the meeting we will develop a comprehensive concept of ESG measurements, which means how can we measure, like we measure profit, how can we measure environmental, social and good governance responsibility. You look at the Manifesto 2020 of the World Economic Forum, which describes stakeholder responsibility. We say that executive remuneration should be not only in line with the profitability, but also with the social responsibility and environmental responsibility and good governance practices the company has installed.
You're inventing a revolution, I'm afraid, Professor Schwab.
I hope so, because I think companies will not be credible if they do not show that a corporation is not just an economic unit, it's a social organism. It has a very big importance in our social life, and this means to assume those responsibilities.
This year, 50th anniversary of the World Economic Forum, we really should say big congratulations to you, Professor, and your team. But many wonder, what would be the biggest takeaway you would have as someone behind the scenes on a daily basis working on this platform? Biggest lessons, biggest experiences, biggest takeaways?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the world today, the world not only of hard power but soft power, the world where we have to search for unity in diversity, needs a platform like the World Economic Forum. So the platform which I have created is independent on my own personality. I think it's a gift to the world, and I hope that this platform in the future can be of major help and utility when we address all the issues which require, as President Xi Jinping said, we are part of a global community with the same destiny. So we have to work together to make sure that the next generations find a world which is even better than the world we have inherited.
Last few questions. You've been traveling to China, Professor Schwab, frequently. Once or twice or even 3 times every year. You got a medal, a national honor medal coming from the Chinese president. What do you make of this country, China, which many have been observing for decades, but still there seems to be very mixed, shall I say, analysis?
Yes, maybe as a European, I see Europe working together, sometimes with difficulties, despite the diversity which we have. And I think we have to recognize that China has a long, very proud cultural traditions dating back many centuries, China is the largest country in terms of population and soon the strongest country in terms of economy. So we have to treat China with respect, sometimes with admiration, and we have to make sure that China takes a very responsible and responsive role in global affairs. China is participating with the strongest delegation, over 100 people, despite the New Year. And I hope that they can enjoy New Year also in Davos.
And we hope that will be the same for you, Professor, and the World Economic Forum.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. All the best.
Thank you.